The scarlet flood dragon suddenly devoured the seven-colored sky-devouring python. The python's once transparent body shuddered, its snake pupils fluttering shut, and an eerie stillness enveloped it. The scarlet flood dragon had barely swallowed the python when crimson flames surged towards it. In just a few short breaths, the figure of the python started to blur, as if it would vanish at any moment. The flames relentlessly gnawed at the python's body, yet the seven-colored sky-devouring python offered no resistance. It remained still, as though in silent resignation, deep inside the flood dragon. "This doesn't feel right," Xuanling King muttered, his earlier arrogance giving way to a sudden unease. "Let's die together," murmured the seven-colored python in a cold voice. From its mouth, a radiant orb of seven-colored light emerged, shining brightly with deadly intent. As the orb materialized, an overwhelming surge of destructive energy spread out. It was clear. The orb contained the python's final reserves of power. Boom, boom, boom. The scarlet flood dragon thrashed violently, terror radiating from it as Xuanling King felt a wave of dread engulf him. "Self-destruct? You think you can take me with you?" Xuanling King scoffed. With a swift motion, he severed his connection to the flood dragon. Beside him, Yimo and Xianming exchanged a glance, gathering their formidable Do Qi to form a protective barrier. Boom, boom, boom. The seven-colored orb exploded with immense force, the destructive energy rippling outward. Yet, despite the catastrophic blast, Xuanling King and his companions remained relatively unscathed. The seven-colored python, weakened and at the end of its strength, had failed to cause significant harm. Its last act of self-destruction was simply a desperate attempt to drag the flame-covered flood dragon down with it. "It's finally over," Xianming said bitterly, watching the last remnants of the seven-colored python's soul dissolve into the air. Though they had won, the victory felt hollow. If they had been facing the true seven-colored sky-devouring python, instead of just its lingering soul, their fate would have been very different. "Thank goodness it was only a remnant," Xianming sighed in relief. But before Xianming could fully relax, a flash of light shot out from the wall of the Medusa Temple, heading directly for Xuanling King and his companions. "Defeat the guardian beast, and you may enter the temple," a majestic voice echoed in their minds. In an instant, the trio followed the light, disappearing into the heart of the temple, which quickly returned to its tranquil state. Someone actually entered the temple? The Serpent King, an old man, looked utterly stunned. His shock deepened, realizing the implications. The Medusa Temple wasn't a place one could simply walk into. Without immense external power communicating with the temple's energy, even a Do Xian-level expert wouldn't be able to open it by force. The temple was surrounded by rumors. Anyone who entered would either survive or perish. There was no in-between. "Damn humans!" the Serpent King cursed under his breath. His aura surged dramatically, signaling he was ready for a serious, decisive battle. "Be careful," warned Qingmu, sensing the overwhelming flow of Do Qi rising from the Serpent King's body like a raging river. The warning barely escaped her lips when the Serpent King and Qingmu's group clashed once again. Despite the Serpent King's power as a 9-star Do Di, Qingmu and the others were no pushovers. With their powerful battle techniques and seamless teamwork, they were slowly managing to hold the Serpent King at bay. "Damn it!" Fan Yu, watching from the sidelines, noticed the disappearance of Xuanling King and his companions. However, he wasn't too concerned. His goal had always been to gain access to the Medusa Temple. Now that Xuanling King, Yimo, and Xianming, 3 9-star Do Di, had entered the temple, Fan Yu's objective was already within reach. "It's time to retreat. If we stay any longer, we won't be able to escape once the 9 great tribes of the Serpentfolk clan arrive," Fan Yu thought, fending off Meblu's relentless attacks while considering his next move. Retreat. Fan Yu's silver Do Qi burst forth, splitting into several streams that signaled the members of the Xuanling royal family. Everyone nodded in understanding, readying themselves for a final strike to cover their retreat. Retreat? Are you kidding me? That half-step Do Xian's companion spirit serpent's blood must taste incredible. Xianmo began to protest, but was interrupted by Fan Yu's commanding signal. Sigh, guess it'll have to wait for next time, Xianmo said with a reluctant sigh. Although his green serpent opponent was merely a one-turn Do-Di, Xianmo's ghostly Do-Chi had pushed the serpent to its limits. If they continued fighting, the green serpent would eventually fall to him. Why has their power suddenly surged? What's going on? The green serpent muttered, before resuming its fierce battle with Xianmo. As the Xuanling royal family's forces grew even stronger, their attacks became increasingly ferocious. It seems they're preparing to retreat, Solomon remarked quietly, an idea forming in his mind. I wonder why Xuanling King entered the Medusa clan's temple. But right now, the Xuanling royal family's strength is all but exhausted, with only Qin Tian left as their top fighter. The rest are only at the peak of the 8-star Do-Di, Solomon mused. After this battle, the Xuanling royal family's elites are spent. This could be our opportunity. Lu Quan's voice, eerie and low, slipped from beneath his black cloak, sending a chill through those around him. Opportunity? Are you saying? Asked Yang Wei, his eyes gleaming with sudden understanding. This time, we won't need to worry about Incense Pavilion. The Xuanling royal family's desperate bid to enter the Medusa temple has left them severely weakened. This is our chance. Lu Quan continued. Chance. But we have alliances with the Xuanling royal family. If we turn on them now, it could hurt us both, Songli said after a moment of thought. Alliances? Opportunities? It's all just paper thin. The sect master has been dissatisfied with the Xuanling royal family for years, but hasn't acted because of certain individuals. If we succeed now, their foundations will be shattered, and the sect master might even reward you, Lu Quan explained. When Lu Quan mentioned the sect master and that individual from the Xuanling royal family, there was a noticeable tremble in his voice, revealing his fear of the two powerful figures. If that's the case, then it's worth a try, Songli and Yang Wei said, their eyes gleaming with newfound ambition. If they succeeded, their power and status would skyrocket. The remnant soul of the seven-colored sky-devouring python has vanished? Xiao Yan's pupils reflected deep shock. He knew full well the terrifying power of the seven-colored python, yet it had been defeated by the combined efforts of Xuanling King and his companions. It seems Xuanling King's strength has reached the level of a 6-turn 9-star Do-Di. Even though it was merely a remnant soul, the seven-colored python should not be underestimated, said Long Yi, speaking from the ancient ruler of flames behind Xiao Yan. Senior, if you were to face Shifu or Qin Tian, how would you fare? Xiao Yan asked, his heart sinking. Shifu possesses the strength of a half-step Docian. If I were to face her, my chances of victory wouldn't exceed 30%. As for Qin Tian, who stands at the peak of Do-Di, it would be a 50-50 chance, Long Yi replied, his voice echoing from beyond the black and white barrier. 50-50? Xiao Yan was shocked. Long Yi, in his prime, had reached the realm of Docian, far surpassing the level of a half-step Docian or peak Do-Di. Don't look at me like that. I can sense a strange power coming from Qin Tian. It's quite terrifying, Long Yi said, his voice heavy with seriousness. Could Qin Tian truly be that formidable? Xiao Yan muttered. Long Yi had been incredibly powerful in life, and even in his current soul form, he was still on par with half-step Docian experts. If Long Yi acknowledged the threat, it was certainly something to take seriously. Xiao Yan focused, using his immense soul strength to observe the battle unfolding within the black and white barrier. Tang Tang. Just as he prepared to watch the confrontation between Shifu and Qin Tian, a familiar figure appeared beside him. Yes, it's me, Tang Tang said softly. What's going on? Xiao Yan frowned. The battle between the Medusa clan and the Xuanling royal family is nearing its end. Are you interested in visiting the Medusa temple? Tang Tang asked, her eyes gleaming with excitement. Medusa temple? Xiao Yan's deep-set eyes lifted as he gazed at the pale temple, hidden beneath the desert sands. The moment his gaze landed on the Medusa temple, a wave of soul-shaking tremors surged through his mind. What is that? Xiao Yan's pupils contracted sharply. At that very moment, as Xiao Yan's soul trembled, the members of the Blood Blade mercenary group also felt a disturbing ripple in the soul force surrounding their bodies. There's something inside that Medusa temple. Xiao Yan's eyes flickered, as a faintly familiar aura seemed to drift from within the temple. Forget it. There may be countless rumors about the Medusa temple, but you need to be alive to enjoy its treasures, don't you? Xiao Yan refused decisively. He knew what Tang Tang was plotting. Entering the temple was more likely a death sentence than a treasure hunt. Our Bloodblade mercenary group has made new plans. We'll have to terminate our cooperation for now. I'm sorry, Tang Tang said with difficulty, then tossed a heavy bag of pills to Xiao Yan. All right, let's part ways here, Xiao Yan responded quickly, his mind racing as he easily discerned Tang Tang's intentions. The secrets hidden within the Medusa temple were enough to make everyone in Mystic Three Heavens green with envy. If they could make a big score there, they would never have to risk their lives like this again. Well, Tang Tang's lips moved slightly as she prepared to leave with her group. The thing you're looking for might be somewhere in the desert region, though it's incredibly dangerous, Tang Tang hinted. Thanks. Xiao Yan understood her implication and nodded in gratitude. What should we do now? Little Li asked quietly. We still need to explore the desert region. I can sense that something I need is there, Xiao Yan said seriously. Then let's go for it. Little Li exclaimed enthusiastically. Not just yet. I can sense that Mu Feng and the others are nearby. Let's meet up with them first, Xiao Yan said, his expression relaxing slightly. Besides, it seems the real showdown between the Xuanling royal family and the Medusa clan is just beginning, he added with a smile. With his heightened senses, Xiao Yan could feel several terrifyingly strong presences closing in. In less than a minute, the Medusa clan's elites would gather, and the Xuanling royal family's situation would become precarious. Captain, are we really going to abandon the desert region? The things there are, the scar-faced man beside Tang Tang protested reluctantly. The Medusa clan's temple is far more alluring than the desert region. Besides, I have a bad feeling about the desert. Better to leave it be, Tang Tang said calmly. But why tell Xiao Yan? They're from Incense Pavilion, and if they die here, Incense Pavilion might blame it on us. Tu Lang pointed out after some thought. They won't. Those little guys aren't easy to deal with, Tang Tang replied, concealing her true strength as she slowly approached the Medusa clan's temple. Damn it! Someone has defeated the guardian beast and entered the temple? Shifu exclaimed in anger, realizing that the remnant soul of the seven-colored sky-devouring python had completely vanished. Haha, you old monster. I told you long ago, my Xuanling royal family has a vast foundation and countless talents. How could your Serpentfolk clan compare? Qin Tian taunted from within the black and white barrier, 5 orbs of black and white energy, filled with the force of life and death, floating around him. There's no need for such meaningless banter, Shifu retorted, her aged face showing a flicker of displeasure. Despite her words, Qin Tian noticed a hint of concern in her expression and shook his head. He was quite satisfied with Xuanling King's performance. After all, Xuanling King had managed to subdue something from the 7th level of the underground palace, a feat that required extraordinary willpower. Save your worries for yourself. Qin Tian sneered, clenching his fists as a terrifying force imbued with the power of life and death shot toward Shifu. Humph! Shifu snorted, raising her snake-headed staff and casually blocking Qin Tian's seemingly overwhelming attack. Impressive. A true half-step Docian indeed, Qin Tian muttered, narrowing his eyes and staring coldly at Shifu. With Shifu's roar, Qin Tian could clearly feel a nearly tangible force of black and white energy surging forth. Qin Tian, this time I'll show you the true strength of a half-step Docian, Shifu said slowly, as the snake-headed staff in her hand began to radiate scorching waves of power. In the distance, the aura of the green serpent being pursued by Xian Mo in the desert suddenly spiked and began rushing toward the black and white barrier. What is this? As someone at the peak of Dodi, Qin Tian immediately sensed something was wrong. He clenched his fists, and a cold chill crept into his heart. The battle in the desert raged on. Xian Mo and his group surged with newfound momentum, momentarily pushing Milan back. However, dealing with the Serpent King proved far more challenging for Qing Mu and his companions. They struggled to hold their ground against the Serpent King, clearly biding their time, waiting for the battle in the skies to conclude so they could retreat at a moment's notice. With Xuanling King, Yimo, and Xin Ming, 3 9-star Do-D experts, entering the Medusa clan's temple, the Dragon Devourer Legion's overall strength had drastically diminished. Staying any longer in the desert would be unwise. So this is the power of a half-step Do-Xian, Qin Tian murmured as he warily watched Shifu before him. A force blending life and death began swirling around him as he became more alert. At that moment, Shifu, who had previously appeared old and hunched, suddenly straightened up, her body regaining the vigor of youth. "Little Green," Shifu called softly, her voice carrying an overwhelming presence that reverberated through the black and white barrier. In response, the green serpent, which had been fleeing from Xianmo, suddenly erupted with terrifying black and white life and death energy. Its strength surged, breaking free from Xianmo's grasp, and it shot towards the black and white barrier. With a resounding crash, the massive green serpent fused into the barrier. "Damn it!" Xianmo cursed. He had been on the verge of defeating the serpent, only for it to escape. With a cold snort, he turned and rejoined the battle with Qing Mu, as even powerful experts like him could barely hold their own against the Serpent King's terrifying strength. What is that old monster up to? Qin Tian narrowed his eyes, a chill creeping up his spine. 5 black and white energy orbs circled him, releasing waves of immense power. "Qin Tian, your Xuanling royal family and our Medusa clan have been at odds for millennia. Perhaps today, we can settle these grievances," Shifu declared, her body now brimming with black and white life and death energy, glaring fiercely at Qin Tian. "Ha ha ha. Shifu, you've guarded the Medusa temple for centuries, but you're nothing more than a gatekeeper serpent. Don't think my Xuanling royal family can be so easily handled." Qin Tian scoffed coldly. "Let's see if you can still talk so boldly after the experts of the Medusa clan's 9 tribes arrive," Shifu said as she noticed the Xuanling royal family being pushed back by the Serpent King below. She also sensed the other leaders of the 9 tribes drawing near. "Then let's see who emerges victorious," Qin Tian retorted icily. He could feel several powerful auras approaching. If the standoff continued, the leaders of the 9 tribes would soon arrive. 2 were already here: Mylan, the leader of the Enchanting Serpent tribe, a peak 8-star Do-D, and the Serpent King, a 4-turn 9-star Do-D. Even the Xuanling royal family felt a hint of fear in the face of such a formidable lineup, especially since their Dragon Devourer Legion's strength had significantly decreased. Shifu stood atop Little Green, radiating life and death energy that gently healed the serpent's wounds. Though Little Green was only a 1-turn 9-star Do-D, Shifu's half-step Do-Xian strength, combined with the serpent, made them a truly troublesome pair. "To think you, with merely the strength of a peak Do-D, could force me to resort to merging with my serpent. Qin Tian, you are indeed the strongest below the Do-Xian level in the Xuanling royal family," Shifu said with a chilling smile. "What?" Qin Tian was taken aback, unsure why Shifu would say such a thing, but his heart grew cold. "So, from here on, I will fight you with everything I have. Falling by my hand won't tarnish your title of immovable King Ming," Shifu roared. "Damn it!" Qin Tian's expression darkened in alarm. As Shifu's voice faded, the wounds on Little Green's massive body were fully healed, and its enormous size shrank rapidly until it was no larger than the palm of her hand. The now tiny green serpent slithered into Shifu's hand, its eyes gleaming with hostility towards Qin Tian. Without hesitation, Shifu raised the small green serpent with her left hand, while holding her serpent-headed staff high in her right. When the green serpent and the withered, colorless serpent-headed staff aligned, both began to glow with a radiant light. In an instant, a primordial aura erupted forth. "What is this?" Qin Tian's pupils contracted sharply as a wave of fear washed over him. "Qin Tian, take this," Shifu shouted, her pupils glowing with ferocity. Her hands joined together, and the tiny green serpent merged with the serpent-headed staff. The staff erupted with a brilliant sky-reaching light. The green serpent disappeared completely, and the serpent-headed staff turned a vibrant shade of green. At the top of the staff, a pair of eerie green eyes suddenly emerged. With a loud swish, waves of terrifying black and white ripples spread out from the fusion of the serpent and the staff. What a terrifying power! That serpent-headed staff must be a celestial artifact, and after merging with the green serpent, it has undoubtedly gained a spirit, Qin Tian muttered, his expression turning grave. The 5 black and white energy orbs around him began to spin faster. Good thing I held something back, Qin Tian said, his tense face suddenly twisting into an eerie smile. With a flick of his hand, a dark red pill appeared. What is that? Elsewhere, Xiao Yan and his group, still searching for Mu Feng, were observing the battle within the black and white barrier. That's probably a pill compressed purely from the power of flames. Though it's called a pill, it's more like a ball of raging fire energy, Li said, her delicate face showing a hint of seriousness. Qin Tian is truly reckless, Xiao Yan exclaimed, a solemn expression on his face. He immediately unleashed his vast soul power and Do Qi, forming a protective shield in front of the trio. Without hesitation, Qin Tian swallowed the dark red pill. As the pill entered his body, a strange layer of red flames enveloped the life and death energy surrounding him. The red flames, like living spirits, perfectly fused with the life and death energy, spreading intense heat that melted everything in its path. What kind of power is this? Shifu exclaimed, startled. After Qin Tian swallowed the pill, his aura shifted from one dominated by life and death energy to a far more terrifying force of flame. Yet it still contained traces of life and death energy. The combination of 3 different forces increased the pressure on Shifu immensely. As a Serpentfolk, she was naturally attuned to energy, and flames were her natural bane. Tricks and theatrics. Shifu, gripping the radiant dragon python staff, spoke calmly from within the black and white barrier. That is, the dragon python staff. The weakened blue flower serpent exclaimed in astonishment, staring at Shifu within the barrier. Inside, Shifu stood tall, holding the glowing staff, her eyes locked on Qin Tian, who appeared somewhat strange. Dragon python staff? Qin Yan, surprised, lifted her delicate face and gazed toward the black and white barrier. Yes, that's the dragon python staff. The dragon python staff is one of the few celestial weapons in our Medusa clan. Legend has it that a Docian expert from our clan wielded this weapon in ancient times. With its power, countless strong opponents met their end, the blue flower serpent explained with shock. What about Senior Little Green? Qin Yan asked, unsure, as she had just seen Little Green merge with the staff. Senior Little Green is not just Shifu's companion spirit serpent, but also the spirit of the dragon python staff. The two of them should soon decide the outcome. After all, they've both unleashed terrifying powers. But Qin Tian, being a Peak Do Di expert from the Xuanling royal family, has forced teacher to use a celestial weapon. The blue flower serpent continued as she and Qin Yan slowly backed away from the battlefield. You think you can kill me with a celestial weapon? Qin Tian sneered as the 5 black and white orbs of life and death spun rapidly around him. Whether I can or not, let's find out. Shifu's pupils flashed with a brilliant, eerie green light. In response, the dragon python staff erupted with energy, as though a massive force was on the verge of being unleashed. Spirit of the dragon python, Shifu shouted, pointing the radiant dragon python staff at Qin Tian. In the next moment, a 100-zhang beam of light surged from the staff. A black flood dragon and a white python coiled around the beam, twisting and entwining as they soared. Crack, crack. The black and white barrier shattered with the sheer force of Shifu's devastating attack. The spirit of the dragon python. This attack has killed half-step Docian experts before. For Shifu to use this, it means the battle is already over. The Serpent King commented from the desert below, effortlessly deflecting the Xuanling royal family's attacks. He cast a glance at the fierce clash above between Shifu and Qin Tian. Serpent King, finish this quickly or? Mylan urged, recognizing that the duel between Shifu and Qin Tian had reached its climax. Understood. The Serpent King's face darkened as he raised his power to the peak. Although his strength far exceeded that of Qing Mu and his companions, Their coordinated efforts and seamless teamwork kept the Serpent King from easily overwhelming them. The Serpent King wasted no time, launching another overwhelming attack. What terrifying power! With more time, he might actually break through to half-step Douxian and reach the realm of Douxian. Qin Tian mused with a tinge of regret as fiery red flames suddenly erupted around him like a volcanic eruption. The 5 black and white energy orbs surrounding Qin Tian were also tinged with flames, spinning furiously. As the crimson flames intensified, mysterious, enormous runes began to flicker faintly beneath Qin Tian's feet. "Come at me!" Qin Tian shouted, his eyes narrowing. From high above, Shifu's breath grew ragged after unleashing the massive attack with the dragon python staff, but she continued to gaze down at Qin Tian. This strike, infused with the power of life and death and the might of the dragon python spirit, would put Qin Tian's skills to the ultimate test. Boom, boom, boom. The immense spirit of the dragon python streaked through the sky like lightning, causing the space it passed through to collapse instantly. Good. Qin Tian laughed as he stomped his foot, causing a massive glowing formation to expand beneath him. Mysterious and strange runes appeared within the circle as the 5 black and white orbs spun even faster. Boom, boom, boom. In the next instant, the spirit of the dragon python, its black flood dragon and white python forms entwined, crashed into the space around Qin Tian. Crack, crack. The dragon and python opened their massive jaws, leaving only a towering pillar of Douqi suspended in midair. Immovable King Ming. Qin Tian snorted coldly, his pupils turning blood red as a bloody aura surged from his body. The 5 black and white energy orbs spun rapidly, combining with the mysterious runes of the glowing formation under his feet. A massive suction force overwhelmed the dragon and python, rendering them helpless. Come! Qin Tian raised one hand and roared skyward. In that instant, the 5 black and white orbs aligned above his head, spinning fiercely around his raised hand. The spirit of the dragon python was uncontrollably drawn into the vortex created by the spinning orbs. Not good. Shifu, still hovering in the air, realized something was wrong. Despite her half-step Douxian strength, she dared not underestimate Qin Tian. She knew that humans possessed secret techniques, battle skills, and pills that the Serpentfolk did not. Immovable King Ming array, kill? Qin Tian shouted once more, his voice shaking the heavens. At his command, the glowing formation beneath him erupted with dazzling light, mysterious runes swirling endlessly. Roar! Hiss! The spirit of the dragon python let out a furious roar as it was pulled into the vortex of the 5 energy orbs. Die already! Qin Tian gritted his teeth, sensing the stubborn vitality of the dragon and python spirits. He unleashed a burst of fiery red flames that surged toward the spirits. Sizzle, sizzle! As the flames engulfed the spirit of the dragon python, a deafening cry of agony echoed across the sky. Damn it! Shifu struggled to contain her rage, glaring at Qin Tian. For some reason, she felt a terrifying fear of death emanating from the crimson flames surrounding Qin Tian. Immovable King Ming array, final strike. Qin Tian's eyes glowed red like a bloodthirsty beast as he leaped from the glowing formation beneath his feet, charging directly at Shifu. He ignored the vortex of the 5 black and white energy orbs restraining the dragon and python spirits. Shifu, it's over. In a flash, Qin Tian appeared before Shifu, raising his nearly exhausted hand. The combined force of life and death, mingled with the power of flames, surged forward as he swung his hand at Shifu. A ring of fire encircled Qin Tian's hand, glowing a fiery red, but in Shifu's eyes, it looked like the hand of death itself. Boom, boom, boom. A terrifying ripple spread across the sky. Shifu, the half-step Douxian, is she finally dead? Qin Tian panted heavily, staring at Shifu, whom he had viciously struck down from the sky. Cough, cough. Shifu weakly replied, coughing as blood trickled from the corner of her mouth. Explode. Shifu wiped the blood from her lips and snarled with a twisted expression. Boom, boom, boom. As soon as she spoke, the spirit of the dragon python, which had been restrained by the 5 orbs of life and death, suddenly broke free. The black dragon and white python merged into 2 beams of blinding light, which then fused into the massive Do-Chi pillar. Boom! The Do-Chi pillar expanded instantly before detonating, sending dazzling sparks flying in all directions, shaking the vast formation and the 5 energy orbs. High above, Qin Tian's pupils contracted sharply as he spat out a mouthful of blood. Damn it! Qin Tian cursed. Ha ha ha, Qin Tian, you old fool. It seems we're evenly matched, Shifu laughed, leaning on the dragon python staff for support. Qin Tian was in a miserable state. His grand immovable King Ming array, which had anchored him, allowed him to control his techniques and trap the spirit of the dragon python. However, in a reckless attempt to attack Shifu directly, he had broken away from the array. Though his attack had landed, Shifu had cunningly retaliated by destabilizing the array, causing a backlash that had resulted in Qin Tian's current injuries. Damn you, Shifu. Still not dead? Qin Tian roared, preparing to rush toward Shifu again when something caught his attention. Before him, a series of lights appeared, slowly coalescing into several human-like figures. At the forefront was a man with dark, pitch-black skin and a fierce, beast-like aura. His gaze was sharp, brimming with menace. This man was Mobile, leader of the Black Serpent tribe and a 3-turn 9-star Do-D. Behind him stood several other powerful warriors, including peak and late-stage 8-star Do-Dis. So, the leaders of the 8 Medusa tribes have gathered. Qin Tian thought to himself, his heart filled with shock. Among the 9 tribes, only 3 had 9-star Do-D experts, and now 2 of them had arrived. Only Nuadong was absent, but even so, this was a daunting lineup. With 2 9-star Do-D experts, along with the numerous 8-star Do-D warriors and Shifu's half-step Do-Xian strength, the Medusa forces posed a terrifying challenge. On Qin Tian's side, only he was a 9-star Do-D, while the rest of his team's strongest members were merely at the peak of the 8-star Do-D level. To make matters worse, Xuanling King, Yimo, and Xin Ming, 3 9-star Do-Dis, had already entered the Medusa temple, leaving the battlefield tipped in the Medusa tribe's favor. What had been an even match was quickly becoming a one-sided fight. The 9 Medusa tribes are already here, Xianmo observed, frowning as he surveyed the situation. No, there's only 8 tribes here. How strange. Fan Yu commented from the side. We need to retreat. With the 8 tribe leaders and Shifu here, if we don't leave now, we'll be wiped out, Qingmu said, scanning the gathered forces with growing fear. Haha, Mobile, you're late. The Serpent King laughed, unfazed by the attacks of Qingmu and the others, calling out to the dark figure in the distance. Humph! Serpent King, you know our tribes are the furthest from the temple. Surely you're aware of that. And look at you, a proud 9-star Do-D, held up by a bunch of 8-star Do-Dis seems fitting for your tribe, Mobile retorted without a hint of respect. You think these humans are easy to handle? These are the elites of the Xuanling royal family, members of the Dragon Devourer Legion. Do you think even I, with my strength, would be delayed like this otherwise? The Serpent King snorted and replied to Mobile. Enough arguing. Let's deal with these humans first. They've trespassed into Medusa territory, and death is the only way to quell our rage. A female leader with peak 8-star Do-D strength stepped forward. Agreed. Mobile nodded, his eyes shifting as he spotted the blue flower serpent. Ching Ching, Mobile called out in a familiar tone, his figure vanishing and reappearing beside the blue flower serpent. Mobile, shouldn't you be helping teacher drive away the enemies? Ching Ching frowned, unsure of Mobile's intentions. Ching Ching. What happened? The excitement in Mobile's eyes faded as he sensed something unusual in her. Nothing, Ching Ching replied, shaking her head helplessly. Who did this? Mobile roared in fury as he realized that Ching Ching's companion spirit serpent had vanished, and her foundation had been severely damaged. Her strength had dropped to the level of a 1-turn 9-star Do-D. Calm down, Mobile. Ching Ching scolded him. Calm down? How can I calm down when my woman has been harmed like this? Mobile shouted in anguish. Who is your woman? Ching snapped coldly, unleashing a wave of invisible pressure. I know you don't accept me, but in my heart, you're the only one worthy of me. Mobile said with heartfelt sincerity. Humph. Ching scoffed, ignoring him as she led Xiao Yan away, paying Mobile no further attention. Damn humans. To harm my woman like this, you must die. Mobile declared, his murderous intent flooding the area. Xiao, it seems the heavens are not on your side this time, Shifu remarked, seeing that the 8 Medusa tribe leaders had gathered. Though she had suffered some internal injuries, she was far from defeated. Sigh. Xiao sighed deeply and retracted the immovable King Ming array. The 5 energy orbs floated around him once more. Attack. Make sure none of them leave this desert alive. Shifu raised the radiant dragon python staff and commanded her forces. Damn it. Qingmu, Fanyu, and their companions broke free from their opponent's attacks and rushed to Xiao's side. The Serpent King and his forces did not pursue, instead regrouping behind Shifu. For now, both sides stood at a tense impasse. Captain, this is going to be a problem, Fanyu said, holding Yao Xian in his arms as he spoke. Xiao's expression was grave as he stared at the 9 powerful Medusa leaders before him. A gentle stream of energy flowed from him into Yao Xian's body. Cough, cough. Yao Xian slowly awoke, her condition improving as the energy took effect. If that's how it is, then we'll fight, Xiao declared. The name of the Dragon Devourer Legion, the first legion of the Xuanling royal family, isn't just for show. He raised his head to the sky and let out a thunderous roar.